Chicago, 1978. When detectives unearthed the first body beneath a quiet ranch home in Norwood Park, they thought it was another missing boy, one of many. But as they dug, the number kept rising. 26 remains, then 29. In the crawl space, proof of something entirely human and something weirder. Grease paint-stained cloth folded beside children's toys, a photo of a man smiling in bright red makeup. Neighbors recalled birthday parties and parades. To them, he was Pogo the Clown. Everyone thought it was just a costume, just a hobby, but the reports kept coming. Today, one glass case in the Des Plaines Police Museum holds that photo, yellowed around the edges. Next to it are apology letters sent by parents who once hired him. Decades later, Hollywood would soften what really frightened people. Not a monster from the sewers, but the face of joy itself, worn by a killer. The Cook County Sheriff's Office records show the first missing boy, Timothy McCoy, 15, vanished after Christmas 1972. The case file notes, last seen near Northwest Avenue, boarded a car with a man described as friendly, possibly a performer. No one connected this to the man who lived just 3 blocks from the O'Hare flight path. John Wayne Gacy, contractor, civic volunteer, frequent face at fundraiser events. What the neighbors remembered later was how Gacy always seemed on stage, even in the grocery line. Reports describe him painting his own clown makeup in geometrical shapes, more angular than typical children's performers. At the time, police saw no link between the missing boy and the local contractor. There was no warrant, no body, and no reason to suspect a man who spent weekends entertaining sick children. In hindsight, that file marked the first quiet step into a performance no one wanted to see. In 1975, while chairing the Norwood Park JCs, Gacy designed a community outreach project, costumed visits to hospitals as Pogo. Archival footage from WGN-TV shows him waving in red and blue satin, oversized shoes tapping pavement, children smiling. One hospital nurse later told a Tribune reporter, "He was funny, but he'd look at the kids too long between jokes." The disguise served a purpose. When later questioned in 1978, detectives found his bedroom drawers divided, half business suits, half clown gear, both pressed, clean. Forensic photographs document streaks of white grease paint on a mirror frame. Those who had painted as clowns before noticed something wrong. The mouth corners turned sharply upward, unlike the gentle curves professional clowns were trained to use. It wasn't a smile that comforted. It cornered. When Stephen King created Pennywise years later, he would use the same geometry, laughter that couldn't be read. From 1974 to 1976, the Chicago Tribune reported at least 5 local disappearances of teenage boys, last seen near construction sites or bus stops. Each fit a broad pattern: neutral weather nights, northwest suburbs, and contact with a man offering quick cash jobs. Cook County detectives reopened 2 of the files only after parents began writing letters directly to Mayor Bilandic's office, pleading for unified coordination. A mother, whose note survives in Archive Box 14 of the Des Plaines Police Museum, wrote, "He said the man was dressed for some show, maybe a clown thing. That's all I remember." The pattern was there, but technology wasn't. Pre-DNA, pre-digital databases, police relied on hand-carried memos across jurisdictions. The danger wore grease paint, performed at picnics, shook their hands, posed in photographs. It would take one final disappearance in 1978 to break the illusion of harmless performance forever. December 11, 1978. Robert Piest, 15, vanished after his shift at the pharmacy on Des Plaines River Road. He told his co-worker he was meeting a man who offered him work. A contractor, nice guy, does clown acts. When Piest failed to return home, his mother filed a report immediately. Investigators traced the lead to John Wayne Gacy. He denied ever meeting the boy. What followed is now procedural legend. For 10 days, undercover surveillance logged cigarette butts, alcohol, erratic nocturnal drives, trips to the Des Plaines River at 2 a.m. Officers noted strange smells around the crawl space. Gacy dismissed it as damaged plumbing. By December 21st, after a search warrant and a retreating odor that defied ordinary sewage, detectives began excavation. Each shovel exposed another layer, not only of soil, but of deception. The official transcript notes, body number 1 recovered, labeled unknown male A, further excavation pending. The case was no longer isolated, it was mind horror. Between December 22nd and 29th, 1978, recovery teams exhumed 26 human remains from beneath the house at 8213 West Somerdale Avenue. The crawl space footage, now preserved in police training archives, is still considered too distressing for public display. Investigators wore painter's masks, oxygen tanks, and knee lamps. Detectives remember the silence, even machinery seemed reluctant to run. Among the items cataloged, toy handcuffs, a soaked clown ruffle, fragments of clown buttons, and a folded poster of a balloon animal chart used by hospital entertainers. Each item was photographed alongside its corresponding case tag. When reporters asked Chief Kozenchak what disturbed him most, he said quietly, "He kept everything clean." In that cleanliness, a metaphor rooted, civility concealing decay. Police auxiliary notes remarked the chalk smell of lime permeated their boots for weeks afterward. The mask had finally melted back into humanity, and it stank like chemical pity. By New Year's Eve 1978, the Chicago Tribune and Sun-Times headlines screamed, "Killer Clown Confesses." The association between children's entertainer and murderer was instant, visceral. Hospitals suspended all volunteer clown programs statewide. Birthday bookings plummeted. Letters archived at the EFOB. International Clown Hall of Fame in Baraboo, Wisconsin, record members' outrage and dread. One clown, Buttons the Funmaker, wrote, "He painted triangles. We don't do that anymore." Parents, newly aware of Gacy's double life, filed complaints against unrelated performers. Police logs from Springfield to Kansas City noted copycat prank calls, tips, reports of men in clown suits near schools, none substantiated. The line between evidence and hysteria blurred. By 1979, the American Journal of Psychiatry published a study on fear of clowning in post-Gacy America. From that fear, something mythic formed, an archetype. Joy weaponized. Years later, that shape would crawl into fiction. In 1981, newspapers along the East Coast, Boston Globe, Herald, and Chicago Tribune-Wire, reported nearly simultaneous accounts, school children describing clowns driving vans, luring kids with candy. Police chased leads for weeks, finding no suspects, no license plates. Yet the panic spread from Massachusetts to Kansas in under a month. Sociologists now call it a contagion event. One Boston police memo, April 24, 1981, reads, "Reports persistent despite absence of clown evidence. Parents requesting school patrol after hours." To many, Gacy's ghost had metastasized into rumor. Occult researchers cataloging American folklore, notably Lauren Coleman in Mysterious America, 1983, logged these events as the Phantom Clown Wave. Coleman traced its imagery directly to public trauma from the Gacy crimes. In his 1985 interview, Stephen King acknowledged he read those reports before drafting its first chapter. When he wrote of the sewer and the smile, he was documenting a national nightmare already underway. King, then living in Bangor, Maine, began writing it in the spring of 1984. Bangor's old sewer system, its 19th century history of child drownings, and local clippings of missing pets merged in his notes. Library archives hold King's notebook entry, red-penned, "Maybe the monster is what hides behind what we trust, a clown, a light." He never named Gacy, but the social climate was unmistakable. Interviewed by Bangor Daily News, Oct. 1986, King said, "America already made its own clown. Gacy was then on death row in Menard Prison, sending hand-painted portraits of clowns to fans. Several now sit in vault storage at the Museum of Death Los Angeles, labeled, 'Do not exhibit without discretion.'" Thus, Pennywise was born not from fiction alone, but from the residue of a cultural wound, the collective wish to confront the smile and survive it. When ABC aired it as a miniseries in 1990, small-town police departments logged fresh waves of clown reports. Director Tommy Lee Wallace later revealed in Fangoria interview for 1991. "We knew people would connect the dots. We tried to keep it symbolic, not literal." Production notes show the art department deliberately softened the clown's paint lines, rounded lips, pastel palette, afraid of echoing. Gacy's sharp triangular grin. Still, local affiliates in Illinois received letters accusing the network of opening old wounds. The Des Plaines Museum even recorded a 15% visitor spike to the Gacy exhibit following broadcast. Each adaptation, rather than soothing the fear, seemed to rouse it. In pop culture, fiction began feeding the archive, circular haunting, and once again, people started dreaming of clowns standing motionless outside windows, never smiling the same way twice. From Death Row, 1979-1994, Gacy created over 200 paintings, many depicting clowns, skulls, and balloons. Exhibits were banned in most states after victims' families protested. Yet some collectors persisted, citing historical importance. One painting, Pogo Meets Peppy, sold at auction in 2001 for $10,000 under police witness supervision. Attached to it were 2 letters from Gacy to a journalist, in shaky cursive. People still want to believe it was the clown, but it was me. The clown was good. Psychiatrists reading the correspondence noted classic displacement, guilt rebranded as performance. Those who owned the artwork often reported uncanny coincidences, alarms triggering inexplicably, frames falling, guests complaining of headaches. Police logs record 4 property damages following such private showings, all chalked up to mechanical issues. No paranormal claim was proven, but collectors quietly agreed. You don't mock Pogo's smile, not even as art. When the cinematic reboot of It released in 2017, Stephen King was asked again if Pennywise was Gacy. He paused. He's every mask we put on to make others trust us. Yet the parallel was impossible to dismiss. Press agencies revisited the Illinois archives. Newly digitized case files drew global readers, over 1 million downloads in 48 hours, according to Cook County's Digital Forensics Registry. Des Plaines Museum curators reported visitors leaving apology cards by the Crawl Space exhibit, written in children's handwriting. One note read, "Sorry he tricked you." Horror fans sought selfies with the police photo of Pogo. Staff eventually banned flash photography. Cinema had reanimated the mask not as warning, but as thrill. And somewhere in that confusion, empathy turned spectacle. The story found its own haunting again. Night security logs at the Des Plaines Police Museum note recurring oddities between 2009 and 2021, motion sensors triggering near the Gacy display, despite no movement captured. Temperature drops of 5 degrees in the adjacent hall occurred at 3:18 a.m., twice recorded on thermal readouts. Technicians blamed faulty wiring. Still, one guard, interviewed anonymously in 2019, claimed he heard faint carousel music from the corridor. "I thought it was the display tape," he said, "but it wasn't plugged in." Today, the clown items remain sealed behind UV-resistant glass. Museum policy forbids opening the case out of respect and contamination precautions. Tags below the glass. Though read simply, "Evidence, Bury 1, Sure 5, December 1978. Visitors sometimes leave toys. Staff remove them before closing. No one admits fear, but everyone locks the display door twice. Sometimes documentation is the only way to keep belief contained. Every few years, the news invents another clown panic. The most recent wave, 2016, inspired police warnings across 10 states. No assaults, no suspects, only masks, sightings, and social media amplification. Folklorists like Benjamin Radford trace each wave to one cultural memory: Gacy, 1978. The clown has become generational code for misplaced trust, for the cruelty we let into daylight. Back at the Des Plaines archive, one glass frame still reflects the mural smile of Pogo, cracked slightly at the corner after years of air conditioning cycles. Staff have opted not to repair it. I stood before that case myself one winter afternoon. The air seemed tangibly heavier, like a held breath. The sign warns, "Do not tap on glass." I turned off my recorder. Out of respect, the room stayed quiet until the fluorescent light above flickered red, then white, like a grin remembering. The file closes there,